Hi guys, this is Cindy
And Michael
from Part-Time Permies, and we are on a different computer than normal, so if you could just verify that you can hear us, that would be awesome. We are out of town, so looks like we have a number of people in the room. It's a little bit harder on the screen, so I'm going to try to bounce around a little bit to see where we're at, but it looks like we have Linda, your mom's here, Square One Farms, hello. Are you new to our channel? Tina's in the room. Half Acre Dreams.
Microphone starter. I think that might be a new
or recent.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know that you can hear us. There might be a little bit of a delay, and our internet is bouncing around in speed a little bit, so I do apologize ahead of time if we buffer a little bit. Hey, Monica.
Running on a laptop tonight.
Yeah, laptop and not at home. So some of you guys who watch us regularly probably know where we're at this week, which is why we haven't had any videos go up, because we've been out of town since
Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Fletcher, North Carolina.
Yep. So we are visiting. Carrie, I'm reading the note to Carrie. How are the goats? I'm like, we don't have goats now. Hi, Diana. So we are visiting the Rhodes this weekend. We had a really busy weekend. So we were trying to see if anyone would stay up late with us tonight for our live show, but we had two 12-hour days and an 8-hour day or something. It's been a busy weekend, so
yeah, I think we kind of wore everybody out, and we've all been on an early schedule.
Yeah,
pretty much about 5:30, and
yeah,
go all the way. Last night we went from 5:30 till 9:30, 10 o'clock when we settled things down for the night on our projects.
Yep.
And it was after 11 by the time I had done my paperwork and gotten ready for the morning activities. So yeah.
Don't wiggle around too much. Your chair's squeaking.
Well, the chair does stop squeaking.
But Tina got her first 2 eggs today. Or got 2 eggs today. She got an egg before. So yes.
You'll enjoy those.
Yes, nice fresh eggs, silky eggs, little ones.
Did someone get a haircut?
Me, no. I'm wearing my hair down. I usually have it back in a ponytail, but I took a shower not long ago, so it's drying still. So
I took a shower too.
Yeah, well, that was probably good after long days. we needed it.
We've been in farm fields and working pretty hard and around smokers and meat. And I figured it's good to get good cleaned up. So
yeah, absolutely.
We had a lot of mud, especially somewhat yesterday and today.
Friday it rained a ton.
We've worked the area hard, and it's getting muddy. So it's
and
good.
We haven't said what we did yet.
Yeah.
So I did say we are visiting the Rhodes. So we're at Justin Rhodes, or we've been at Justin Rhodes' place, staying nearby. But so there was the big hog butchery workshop this weekend, and Mike's hair looked shorter.
I did get a haircut. Did I get it last week before? The week before. Or did I get it on? I didn't get it on Monday. I was crazy busy. No, it was the week before. So it
was cut last weekend.
Well, not on the week, yeah.
Oh no, I mean for the last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend I had a haircut a few days earlier. So yeah, but it is short. Probably a little shorter than last time.
First time to mom, proud Tina, proud mom. So we've been hanging out on the farm. Mike has been teaching most of the class. I mean,
I had a hat on last week.
You had a hat on, that's true.
That's why you didn't know. It was.
I'm getting distracted by hair. But Mike did most of the teaching for the butchery workshop. Justin did the culls. Did 5 pigs this weekend. Had a dozen people in the workshop, which was awesome, who came out to the farm to learn how to process pigs. How to break them down. And
to learn about the farm.
And to learn about the farm, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of the central activities was farmstead meat processing, butchering, but there was a lot of other what's just going on around here and interacting with everybody. So we had 4, well, there's other people at other channels, but 4 channels were involved in putting on this event. Obviously, idea hosted and the work of Justin Rhodes, we were invited to teach the processing butchery end. Holler Homestead, Meg and Ben, and Art and Bree and their channel were very active in helping pull this all together and make it happen. So there was lots of activity. Plus,
did Justin do okay?
Justin did great.
Yeah.
He was, he was still kind of nervous. The day before, he had been practicing. We'd been working the area. Target practice, actually sighting the pegs and getting up there and walking through the motion to the point of a gun at their head, which does not bother them at one bit, by the way. We went through the last round with them and observed. Yeah. We talked through what I envisioned, although he kind of was in the process. He was in charge of that section, but sort of how I envision it and what we know and have learned. Yeah. And then Art didn't get out until later. He has done it a number of times, and Ben has a little bit of experience, but I don't know about live kill with some guns. And so, but we just talked about how we're going to do everything step by step. Who's going to be where, what tools we need, how people are going to behave, how the pigs are going to behave. And because we did that just, with us, and then in the field, and then with the class, and then in the field with the class, it went off perfectly. Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically, his aim was perfect. They just dropped. So it was a good, he did not use the 22.
Yeah. One of the other guys brought his own, but you had his own hog. He did use a 22. It wasn't as successful as the 410. The 410 was instantaneous.
Yeah. Did they figure out where he had to shoot it twice?
We had to shoot it twice.
Not Justin. This is the other guy.
Because we were using a 22 long rifle, and
one went probably too far down.
The first one was a direct hit just between and above the eyes where it should be, although you can go a little higher. But it probably came down a little bit towards the cavity of the mouth.
So the angle was probably low.
So while he got a kill, it wasn't an immediate immobilization as far as the nerve. So he did have another head-on hit, but there was some adrenaline. So it took a couple minutes for things to calm down. And so the 410 was direct, immediate, and without question. The 22 generally is a very good weapon, but it's slower powered, less, a little less destructive. And so, but yeah, they were all very successful. And
so, the one in South Carolina? I was trying to remember which person was in South Carolina. For some reason, I thought you were in North Carolina. But
you're going to see a whole ton of butchering videos from a whole bunch of angles. So that's another thing to check out. Cindy didn't shoot a whole lot because we're really busy and support roles. She did a lot of the still photos for the packet that's coming out. And Meg Holler and some of Ben Holler's stuff did the video footage, and Justin did a combination of a lot of still and some video. Justin has vlogs out. It was a 22, I believe, not a 22 mag, and that there was a discussion that most use a 22 mag, and that would be a preference. So I think that is we all agree that was a good, strong preference to move in that direction. So Justin has a few short clips out. Art has some really good clips out.
Art and Bree, go check them out.
They have some really good clips related to on-farm activity. I don't know if they put out one. They had a pre one. Because we got out a day.
They've done a lot on Instagram. I'm not sure if they've posted a video yet because they've actually been recording all weekend for the Rhodes. They did some recording for themselves too.
And we have a little bit of Instagram and Facebook out, but I was so busy I barely even. I didn't shoot anything at all. Part of it is there's no cell signal out on the farm, and we're out of a Wi-Fi range. So phones run down really, really fast, and I was so busy that I was basically running without a phone all day and wouldn't have had time. I let other people do it. So anyways, if you aren't familiar or you are familiar with some of these other people, and you'll check out their stuff. There are some really, really good short videos and more coming.
Yeah, Mr. Mike, that dinner was from last night. What did we have last night? Oh my gosh,
we've had a lot of good
so much good food this weekend. We had the full celebration of the hog today.
That was mid-afternoon today. It was almost like a Thanksgiving style. So the Rhodes have an assistant, Anna, who's a cook or chef that meets their specific dietary needs. Not every day, but she's regularly working with them to keep them on track on diet, because when they're very busy, to keep them.
And she did everything for the whole weekend.
Did the whole weekend. So I wasn't doing any of it, by the way. She did all. She had it all planned. She was working. You stuffed
sausage. You did cheese.
For the celebration meal we did stuff. So she had kind of like 3 different diets to follow, and so Whole30 and Gap diets and other things. So she put all of that together, and she just kind of keeps them all on track. And again, because we had a lot of people coming in, it allows hosting all of what was going on this was a really big weekend. They even come in today. They had, with kids and everybody else, over 30 people in their house for lunch. And they said they don't know if they've ever had that many people in the barn.
Because you had Art and Bree's 5 kids, you had the Hollers 4 kids, you had the Rhodes 4 kids. There were a couple kids involved in the butchery workshop that came with parents.
Spouses or such. So we had 12 people enrolled, but then there's some other people that were sort of on the side hanging out. So
I do have some pictures.
We were deep into like 30 people. So
I'll start going through it. This is just, Mike starting to teach how to break down a hog. So that was kind of after the fact. Not the best angle, but you can see Justin's taking pictures. You can't quite see in that picture Meg, and Meg's in the background with a camera over his other shoulder. We also have, it took a while setting up. We took a whole day setting up, right?
Yeah, we got in the night before. We knew we'd been out here once before, so we knew exactly what the lay of the land and a lot of the equipment and resources. So we trailered in a lot of resources and equipment that I have to supplement for so many people and create a field kitchen. So we talked through sort of the plans, the layout of what I envisioned for the setup. We made some adjustments. Everybody had a lot of input and knowledge, and so we did adjustments, and we all agreed. I think we had a really good setup to get a lot of people, and we had tents for sun and rain.
We had all weather.
We had a lot. We ended up with a lot of mud with some early wet weather the week before. Some rain, a bunch of rain, and
Friday it rained like all day.
So we ended up with. I keep thinking we were smart that we built on the hill, as we're told. You built the farm on the hill because we had a lot of water in processing. You have hose water and dishwater, and some cooking water, and so. And you had a lot of footprints. We had a tractor moving in and out a little bit. That tore some stuff up, and we built our camp properly in the places where nobody got too mudded or flooded.
Yes, it ended up working. The hardest thing was actually getting up and down the hill to the road, because that was getting a little muddy through that section.
Put down a few bales of, probably got about 4 bales of hay in there, keep things.
Someone did ask earlier if we skinned or scalded and scraped. And we scalded and scraped all the pigs.
We scalded every one of them. There was talk about of skinning one just to show it. But because of the desire for skin, it was firmly decided that, and there had been people that had skinned pigs before.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if anybody in the group had scalded. Art had scalded.
Art had scalded.
Justin had not. And we pretty much decided there's a lot of work and some logistics to do it. But once it's done, the value in having the skin, the fat intact is very high.
You know who that is?
Yeah, it's Jamie, exactly.
And the kids were involved, as you can see in that picture. You have a couple Rhodes kids. Lily was scraping there. A couple of the Holler kids.
They're pretty darn good. They worked
through that pig pretty darn fast.
With their, as they grow up in a couple more years, they're going to be really good.
I did get a picture of the tank. The Rhodes bought a 100-gallon tank to dip in, and we used the tractor, hooked the pigs up to the tractor to drop them into the tank. And it actually went really smoothly. Only one dip per pig worked out very nicely.
Yep.
I think we did one pig twice. We flipped one over.
The first one was bigger, and we had a little less water, and they're concerned about splashing and putting the fire out. We realized we could moderate.
We had too much water for the whole pig to go
for the first whole pig.
Yeah.
So we ended up, nice, about 3 minutes scald. So a 100-gallon tank, your typical barrel is 55 gallons. So this was just a little taller and definitely a little wider. And you can use a 55-gallon, but we would have been running short on water. But also with the tractor, even though the bucket was pretty stable, you need more space. You need more water volume. You need more space. Because the last thing we want to do is knock that thing off of the bricks and the fire.
And have to reheat everything. And
just have that massive, everything falls apart. You got water flying out at near, at 150 degrees.
Yeah.
So that setup that was built worked great. And there are alternatives if you don't have a tractor, you don't have a 100-gallon stainless steel. There's lots of ways we'll talk about. There's going to be videos in a few weeks. Justin will have a purchasable long version training video, and we will have a purchasable book guide, written guide with a lot of other details. They cover 2 different areas, so the 2 together, and I believe the video will include the written packet. You can get the written packet separate. The 2 together work as a pretty strong guide to building your own system and getting involved in any part of this that you want from, if you grow the animal, if you decide to do an on-farm kill for many reasons, or you decide to go through processing or some of the beginning cooking, we've attacked a lot of those areas. 2 American guinea hogs, yes, 3 red wattles.
Red wattle blends.
Red wattle blends that were beautiful. They were just in the low 300-pound range.
So, Tina, we'll let you know when that book comes out. We're going to add pictures to it and make some...
It'll probably be a few weeks. Would like to have it done in conjunction with the video to get it back to Justin, but we won't release it before the video release because we'll want to do that at least at the same time.
And anybody who purchases the video gets the book with the video as well, so that is another way to go about getting it.
I think what we're going to do, it'll end up being, $14.95 or $14.
For just the book,
For the book, but if you bought the beef book or if you buy the 2 together, it'll be $20. You'll get beef and pork. Some of the stuff is overlap, but I would say over 50% of it is different and specific.
And this book, pre-pictures right now, is sitting at about 90 pages. So it's longer than the beef one at the moment.
Yeah, well, there's more recipes. There's more detail on things. Because we had to talk about how do you properly and humanely kill and what that process is. We had to talk about more detail. There's more work that you can be done with pork than beef because we tend to dress up beef a little less. So we had to go into some of those details more on curing and preparing. And so those things got expanded to cover the rate.
And Monica, not everyone can handle the cull. So, there are people who find a local farmer where they will buy a whole hog already culled, and you could get the whole hog and break it down yourself, and that way you can break it into the pieces you want.
Much easier, less traumatic if that's a concern. And for all of us, it's a concern that it's done properly. For people that raised it, even Justin, they really like their guinea hogs. The red wattles were here for a short period of time. They were raised by an organic farm that they really know and appreciate. But they weren't attached to those. The guinea hogs are, as the question, they are very personable. They're easy to handle.
And you have to hold them longer, like over a year, to get them to weight.
Yeah, not 6 months. So, so those things lend towards people with smaller properties, younger kids, and less aggressive hogs, and just well-mannered. They behave a lot more like a dog, not so much like a pet, but
they will still root up the pastures. You can see that here. That's why
towards 150 pounds. He fed him pretty aggressively the last number of months. He had so much scrap.
But they were rooting up his garden areas. So they did a pretty quick job of that. 1 week on a plot, and it was.
I will tell you, they are extremely. I had not worked. That's a new breed for me to work with. They had so much fat, and the fat just melts like lard right out of them. It glistens. So it's a different style of fat. You don't get as much meat, and it's much smaller animal, smaller loins. So the one thing I'll say is if you're looking for a lot of meat, if you're making a lot of sausage and a lot of lard and mixed use, it's great. If you're looking to bring in that haul of 100 and almost 200 pounds of meat, you're going to need to take a larger breed and then maybe have a guinea hog for some grind and specialty stuff and lard and balance it because it won't feed as much protein. So you're going to understand its use and its usefulness and
your balance on that. But we did have the first side that was broken down that Mike used as a demo side, all broken into its pieces. So he basically went through this entire process for everybody and then helped everybody through it and then had them all do it one more time to make sure they knew how to do it so that they could go home and do it themselves. But you can get that like I said, you could get a sides of hog or a whole hog and break it down yourself. You don't have to do the cull process. So I think the video or the book actually would be good for that information if you want to get your own hogs.
And Midcard says scrapple. We didn't make scrapple. However, we did make head cheese.
Yep.
We made two heads into head cheese. We roasted 2 heads whole, oven roasted, and we deboned one, rolled it, tied it, which is called porchetta di testa. So it's and then we bagged that, and we did a low temperature sous vide cook. So we presented how to work with heads 3 different ways, both crispy and soft.
We did not do the pork and pork and beans that you did?
No,
that would be good with the cheeks.
We had some beans. We had some grits today. We had some collard greens.
The grits were really
some
good.
lard in the grits. Anna made some pork. Did 2 of the hams.
Hey, Baker,
slow roasted them. Diamond cut the skin. We got amazing crackling off of that. Off of the hams. It was really good.
Yep. Find pig stomach casings here for hog maw recipe: potato, sausage, cabbage. So
pig stomachs are fairly limited. Like haggis, which is sometimes lamb stomach. Haggis is not allowed to be imported or produced and commercially sold in the United States. You can make it. So I think I don't think pig stomachs are illegal, but they are difficult to acquire.
They're probably harder to clean than some of the other.
Well, they're bigger. They're different. They don't have all the nooks and crannies of
cows.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to go to probably a specialty restaurant meat provider to find something like that. We did not clean any of the internal organs due to time and the labor, and because of the ease of getting natural casings. We did fill completely with natural casings.
Pleasant Places. That's one of our workout people.
Yes.
Porchetta di testa.
Man, you can chunk it up, and we just ate it as warm, soft chunks, and the fat is so melting and flavorful. You can eat right through that fat with no problem, but you can cut it really thin and put it on bread and make sandwiches. And
Mom had haggis in Scotland, liked it.
Yeah, and I think it gets a bad rep because it's abused. The 2 things with haggis, it's innards, chopped up innards and such. And usually I think it has some oats in it, put in the stomach, but it also can have a lot of lung in it, and lung has the potential to harbor bacteria either already there or to get bacteria. And because it's a thick cut, the haggis is big, it may not cook fully, and so there was a number of people that died in the 70s, and it's considered difficult to prepare, and so it was made illegal.
Maybe the Amish places.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And even the Amish places seem not to be procuring things on the small scale level that maybe historically they were. So there's less choices, but it's a good place to ask around. Yeah. So haggis, I think you can start some limited haggis is being imported to the U.S. again now. I thought I was reading something the last year or 2, but there's a long moratorium on that preparation.
We also did some blood sausages. This is not cooked, but this was just after being stuffed.
So we made a traditional gluten-free, so no starch item, which is common to ferment up a boudin noir or a blutwurst.
We had a German woman who was saying, yeah, it's blutwurst.
And she's like, this is exactly how they do it. And then my grandfather and my parents ate this. I've never had it. I don't want to try it. But she goes, that's exactly what it is. And so it's got chopped up onions and apples. It's got some eggs and cream as binder to make it truly a custard or a pudding. And it does cook out soft because it doesn't have a lot of filler. It has chunks of fat in it to balance out the heavy protein of the blood. You case it and it's runny, so you have to use a funnel, and then you poach it. And we sliced it out cold after we poached it. You can re-crisp it up and cook it out at that point or do different things, but we had just chilled it, and so we just sliced it. And we had a lot of nice allspice in there, and it was mild, and even cold people were like, wow, and they're like, and then they're like, the flavors, the spices are nice.
Yeah.
And so, it has a place, not for everybody, but we had to make it. Justin really was like, we gotta, and we didn't take all the blood. We took it from 2 pigs.
Yeah. Actually, I think
3 pigs, and we only took a small amount. So we ended up about 5 foot of blood sausage ends up about 2 cups of blood equals about 5 foot of sausage. And we were going to link these into horseshoes, which is the traditional shape. Kind of forgot at the end to do that. So we just poached them in some 2 or 3 foot lengths.
Yeah. Another thing we had for our celebration, the color didn't turn out as well on this. This was actually a little darker than this, but that's a fresh ham with the skin on, sliced so it shrinks down, and
so you just score it into big diamonds or cross hatches, and during your normal roasting process you get cracklings that you can just peel off the skin or the skin and some of the fat underneath it, and they're crunchy and they're really salty and seasoned.
The cracklings were so good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't know what fresh ham is, we didn't make scrapple, we just made the head cheeses. So we didn't make a full scrapple.
Oh, Brian, hi. It said not irony at all. So we have 2 people who are in the workshop in the room right now.
Yeah, we got 2 people, so they're letting you
know what it tasted like.
Chat away, so they can tell you from their perspective. People came from having small homesteads, having some animals, not having any animals, just wanting to interact and be part of it and see it. So a lot of perspectives. That fresh ham. So fresh ham is a value. You can buy, so if you like doing pork shoulder and Cuban pork or just roasted pork or barbecue pork, a ham is much bigger for a larger group. It'll take longer, but if you don't make it into a ham, you end up with, you can season it in garlic and spices and herbs or adobos or things and roast it. It cuts really, really nice, and you don't have that pinking and curing. The texture is different. It's more like a pulled pork. When you look at the price, you can't beat it. So that's a hidden gem that we use occasionally on carving stations, and not everybody likes ham right now, so that's the way around it.
And someone asked, I'm going back. By the way, if you asked a question that we missed, please repost it because I'm going
price per pound of a culled hog. So we did a quick live with Justin this afternoon. What he did mention is his guineas. They do organic. They do a natural organic feed. It's $3 a pound, and he was feeding.
Did we figure out the total?
$5 or 6 pounds a day was what they were eating, but he has been feeding them kitchen scrap, broken extra egg product, whey from the cow. When they or skim milk from the cow when they don't need all the milk, but they've collected the cream. They're foraging in the fields. They're eating grasses. He's feeding them a little bit, but a very little bit of feed. He thinks they might have been eating like 6 pounds a day. I think that was not the red wattle. I think it was a guinea. We're like, God, if you think about a human who eats 3 pounds a day or less plus water, we probably eat about 4 pounds of intake or more with water. Maybe. And they're 100. These things were eating at least twice what we would eat. And guineas, my understanding is, if you feed them, they will eat until they'll just eat and eat and eat. They never shut down. So you actually want to restrict them to some degree, but he doesn't think he paid hardly a couple bags of feed recently because they've had so much scrap. They also had beef scrap and fat left over from the beef butchery they froze down after we pulled it from stock. He lost a chicken or a goose. He does feed.
He lost the chicken.
He lost chicken, but yeah, they will eat. So they'll eat grain, grass, scrap, vegetable, meat product, cooked meat product, dairy, and they don't really distinguish. You don't, and so you can feed them anything that's available. So he cut his feed bill dramatically, and the guineas are even less selective than others. Yeah. Oh, nice. How are you doing? Good.
I was going to show one picture, but I want to give people a heads up on the next picture. I thought it was
heads up.
Yeah, a heads up because it is a picture of the roasted whole heads of the hogs. So basically, if you don't want to see whole roasted heads, there's no eyeballs left in this thing. They were taken out.
They're happy. They're smiling.
They are smiling.
They look very happy.
This went up on our Instagram page, but look away now. I'll tell you when you can look back. Ready? Here is the roasted heads, and we actually put these, each one plated on each of 2 tables, and people were slicing into the cheeks and eating it straight off and eating the crispy skins. So
we did not pose them; they posed themselves. So these were roasted last night for about 3 hours in a low oven. They were chilled the remainder of the night, and then to heat them gently, just because we were out of oven space in the house, I put them on the smoker on low, and it wasn't this, and that really got that awesome shellac and crisped them up. So we got a really nice crackling, and for a farmhouse dinner, putting them in the center of the table. And what you do is you pull off the crackling, the skin, you eat that, and you eat the cheeks, the cheek meat, and you dig in for some of the facial meat. You eat the crispy ears.
It's just like any other meat.
Find the tongue. Yeah. And so that is really truly a centerpiece for this type of dinner. Yeah. Most people never tried the head. Every single person walked away saying they would never neglect a head for a meal, that it was so good.
People can look back now. I took the picture off if they didn't want to look. But yes, they look happy. They definitely were grinning. Someone commented on the Instagram that one looked like they were, how'd they put it? Not joking, but something along those lines, and one looked like they were grinning. And yes.
And when I brought them into the house too, so we brined them overnight, salt brine and some spices, that helps pull out some of the blood. It helps plump the skin and prepare the skin and the meat and give it a little bit of flavor. I brought them in to roast towards the end of the night, and Justin goes, he goes, that's pretty intimidating. I said, it kind of is. He goes, it's kind of sad. And then he goes, well, not really, because we're using it all. Yeah. And then Rebecca saw it, and she was like, I don't know if she tried it.
I think she did. She did.
She was like, and she was kind of like, and he's like, Rebecca, we need to respect the animal. We need to not waste it. And I said, we're actually giving it the utmost respect because this is a delicacy through most of the world, and I have experienced it through a number of different cultures and chef friends, and made it. And I'm like, this is. People fight over the pieces on this. Pork
jowl is like one of the most sought after pieces of meat. It's just like any other meat on the body, but it's really tender.
Justin said it was one of the best pieces of pork he has ever had was some of that jowl meat.
Yeah. So
they look like they're chilling out. Yeah, they are. The nose has got a little brown because it was up towards the higher end of the oven. But we got a perfect shellac. By the way, after they came out of brine, were rinsed. All I did was salt them with sea salt, as much as kind of holds on the skin to help crisp it. I didn't do anything else other than control heat, and that was able to get that result, and that is the desired result.
So what a shot coming in late. Sorry, Mama's Woods. We keep everybody warning. We warned everyone before we put it up, but I'm sorry you came in on that if you didn't want to see it. But, we tried. It was very, very good, tasty. Oh my gosh, I could eat the cracklings all day.
So there's a place in New York that I went for with about 6 chef friends. It's a Belgian butcher shop. I'd have to go look it up and remember what it is called. It just skips my memory, but it's pretty famous. and they're known for all kinds of farmhouse artisan European beers, and then all of the focusing on pork and other charcuterie. They sell a half head for $85. You give them 45 minutes notice for them to heat it up. They've cooked it soft and they crisp it up. You get half a head and they put like a ginger soy, XO sauce or whatever, and give you mushu wrappers, and you tear it apart with wrappers. And now you think about this sweet and salty sauce dripping over it, and it's incredible. And now figure that $85 at a restaurant in Manhattan, they make a ton of money when you can buy a pig head from your butcher, or you can acquire it at a very inexpensive. You can make this and have really a delicacy for the right group of people.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Is it hard to make prosciutto?
Is it hard to make prosciutto? I would say generally yes, because it takes time. A small prosciutto or a quick cured prosciutto could be 9 months, but ideally they're 12, 16 months. So prosciutto, Serrano ham, Smithfield or country ham, all these salt-packed hams, you need a number of weeks of monitoring your salting and pressing. You need to have a high-quality ham that you're inspecting for any bruising or blood so that it doesn't go bad from the inside. You go through your primary cure, you set it up to hang, you maintain your temperature and humidity to some degree. Then you can kind of let it go in general conditions. But there's a very long period of time and wait, and so there's a potential for total loss at any one of these. So yeah, there's a high risk, and then you get a big reduction in weight, and it is quite salty, so you need to use it in the right places.
Thin slice and all that.
But Cuban. I work with Dominican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Caribbean.
Yeah, a little bit.
Filipino. Go down the list. The crispy skin, the pig head is the centerpiece, and the tail, crisped up tail.
Did we do any salt packing, curing?
We did not do a dry salted. Nobody was real excited. I said we could set one up, but again, I dissuade from. So this is my theory. You need to be able to lose that item and not feel too bad about it if it goes bad. You have to be able to risk all of it. So if you are dedicated and eating that meat, I recommend not doing it. And if you don't eat a lot of salty meat,
what about other things?
So we didn't do that. We did make a salt rub for the bacon. So it turns into a slurry. We have all but one side in that. We have one fresh pork belly. So that was a rub. We have recipes in there. That will be finished up in 7 days. Anna will cook that or smoke that to finish it. And we did send a fresh ham back with one person. We were going to set the brine, but he has to travel, and we're kind of, we're a little bit pressed. So he has a recipe, and we have a recipe for a basic brine, a flavorful brine, sort of a pickling, like spiced ham pickle in there. And then I did not go through the procedure of salting. I mentioned that it is accessible. The different versions are accessible through a lot of sources, and I'm happy to consult on it. But I've done it at least twice. Okay, one time I was very small and I over dried it, and then the other time was very successful. So
yeah. And I thought I saw a different question further up, but here's a change in meat topic, still bacon related. But someone gave Carrie turkey bacon. She couldn't eat it. What's the proper way of cooking turkey bacon?
Turkey bacon, so it's kind of weird because you got this very lean poultry, and poultry is totally different than pork. And you have fat that they've kind of emulsified and brought it intact to make a strip that behaves like bacon. It tastes, ultimately, turkey bacon is pretty good. I don't think it comes anywhere close to pork bacon, but it's not bad. I would be careful because I feel like it dries out. The fat kind of falls out of it. The poultry fat's also the softer. And I think it kind of falls out. So you want to cook it crispy. You definitely don't want to keep it soft like you might. A really good quality bacon doesn't need to be overcooked, but you do need to watch overcooking and burning it. So yeah, but otherwise cook it generally a little lower heat and a little more attention, generally like you would other bacon.
Yeah.
But overall, I like turkey bacon. I just like pork bacon better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Duck bacon is really good.
I bet duck
using
bacon.
duck breast and the duck fat to make a so-called type of like bacon is.
Because there's more fat in duck. It's not
Yeah, it's
flavorful.
yeah, and you get that really lean, meaty streak. So
I'm trying to see if we missed any questions back. So as I'm skimming through here, you did have a question from Carrie on our Facebook page about making meatballs. And what's your favorite recipe for making meatballs, or favorite way to do it?
I make so many different ways. I don't have a set way. I do like, when given the option, doing the triple meat blend of pork, veal, and beef. So either 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or 50% beef and then 25% pork, 25% veal. Beef has got the beefy flavor, veal is kind of more mild, and of course pork. That combination gives you the best flavor. If that's all. And sometimes you can buy those multi-packs. Now they're more frozen at the grocery store. I haven't bought one in a while, whether you'll have the three next to each other. So that makes it easier, so you don't have to have too much. Of course, veal's expensive. So I do like grass-fed beef. I like the flavor in the meatball. But for a meatball, I use that. I use like 1 egg for every 5 to 10 pounds. That helps a little more binding. You don't have to. I season. Oh, I like to put in sauteed onions. I do like to brown them, and very fine. I like to need some bread in there. That helps it keep it soft and moist. So fresh breadcrumb, Italian breadcrumb, even panko, some form of bread. And a little trick is some people will put in some yogurt or sour cream, and that helps change the pH and helps give a soft, fluffier meatball that holds together nice. Totally not required, but I think it does do a nice thing. You season it up. You make a little test to taste that it meets your seasoning. Salt, pepper. I don't mind I like some sauteed garlic in with the onions, or a little garlic or onion granulated. And I don't put a lot of other spices. You can put in some basil or oregano, but go easy. And then the key is to make sure you have a medium to fine grind, and you're going to need to put it in your mixer and mix it on low for about 30 seconds. And when it starts pulling away and making a slurping noise, and you start seeing it kind of string and get sticky, that's good. Maybe turn it on medium for just a second and stop it. You can't overmix it. The longer you mix it, the tighter it gets. So for a meatloaf, you want it looser. For a meatball, we want it a little bit tighter. If you mix it too much, it'll destroy it. The fat will start breaking out. The water will come out. But there is physical activity happening in the meat to make it grab together. And when it grabs together, you're going to get a good meatball. I like to scoop them with a scooper. And then I like to hand roll them with a little oil in my hands. And then you have two options. One is to put them on like some sheet pans with a touch of oil and brown them off. Ideally, the old style way is to brown them in fat in a cast iron or deep fry them to brown them. So when you brown things on the outside, you develop more flavor, and then you need to put them in your sauce, and you let them simmer in your sauce for 2 to 3 hours. You'll have extra fat come to the top. You skim that fat off, and now you have your sauce has flavored your meatballs, your meatballs have flavored your sauce, and you're going to get something that's really, really good. You can step through these processes and freeze your meatballs prepared raw, your meatballs prepared fried, your sauce cooked. And I use a fresh lower cooked tomato sauce, and really let that 2 or 3 hour cook time take place with the meatballs. Or you could freeze it all together, so you could build it where your time allows.
So, and I did want to ask you another question, a different spin, because I don't know what our question meant back.
We haven't made a video on meatballs. I have not made meatballs, a batch of meatballs in a while. Right now, I think I have some Costco meatballs. They're pretty good, but they don't match making your own meatballs. No. Even a simple meatball, throw together meatball, they're still not as good.
Let me turn around the question from before about the weight and the cost per pound, not of these hogs, but if someone wanted to go purchase a hog, about how much does it cost hanging weight per pound?
Yeah, so you're going to have to look up. So Justin said his organic feed's $3 a pound. I would say standard feed is, and he doesn't have any soy or corn.
But if we were going to buy it, what did we buy it from the Pratts for? Not what are these, but what did we buy it for?
We paid $3 a pound. Is that what we paid? $2.75 a pound.
Something like that.
Something like that, and that was. It
might be different per region.
Hanging, yeah, and so you could buy from your local butcher even less. It was like an IBP, so
yeah,
not a forage one. You're going to say an average hog is 280 pounds. That's the national average. Found a sheet on it. It will yield 211 pounds, national average. I know these because I looked them up. That means head-on eviscerated of organs ready to fabricate. And then you can look up yield cut sheets for those standards. And we had a print off here. What your average weight for your loins, your hams, and all of that. Sure. I think it was 74 or 76% yield of the carcass is usable meat, trim, and of course all that fat gets used in different ways. I think it was 70, maybe it was 76% from live for hogs. Yeah, and then of course it's really small or really large is going to yield slightly different. Different breeds, fattier, leaner, larger loins will yield. I would say 75 to 80% recovery once the bones are removed. Not that the bones aren't useful. Yeah, but everything is useful in the pig. So yeah, and you need to know when you buy, if you're buying from a farm, whether they're sent to a processor, you're picking it up, that's live weight. Typically when you're buying from the butcher, you're buying hanging weight, and it's good to know if you're paying for the head or not. The organs should be kind of thrown in as part of it. And you work from there, and then you can figure out your yield, and then you can work your math backwards on your total poundage.
So a lot of people are chatting about starting seeds, which I guess is coming into the south. It's definitely warm here, although they are going to get cold. They're going to get in North Carolina. We're going to be gone, but they're going to be in the teens. Yeah. Below freezing tonight, but teens tomorrow night.
We're getting really cold in Michigan, I think.
Yeah. So we have started seeds inside before we left. Actually, we put a video up on starting some seeds about a week, just over a week ago. So we do have, that's probably our most recent non-live show video that's up on our page, which did not actually get put in the greenhouse because our greenhouse is still too cold to start seeds, although the cold hardy things could hold them.
Yeah, versus commercial raised pork versus pasture raised pork. Yes, I agree that pasture raised pork is definitely a preference. Flavor, I think it is probably healthier, but there's no question that immediately you know that the flavor is richer and more intense. Also, when you're doing pasture raised, you may have different breeds. We've talked about Old Spot, Tamworth, Red Wattle, of course, the lard hogs, Mangalitsa's, which are super fatty, also for charcuterie. There's a whole variety of other European American multi-purpose that will do well outside and work in pastures. The more you can get them out exercising, they'll have a pinker, redder meat. I think they'll get more fat. They have more abundance and variety of food. I think all of that lends to what I do also believe is likely to be a healthier, definitely a healthier animal, probably a healthier meat for you. But regardless, it's going to taste richer, better, more intense. So you may want to look to your small farmers, farmers market farmer, contract for them to raise a specific, have one for you, now as they go through a 6-month typical cycle or a little more. It's a good time if you have a preferred farm, say, hey, can you set one aside, make sure we're on the list.
Less uric acid and pasture raised. It probably even less if it's processed on farm, but the problem is you can't buy it.
Uric acid, uric acid, I'm not sure goes up with hill. It's lactic acid.
Lactic acid does, but you also in pasture raised meat in general have a lot higher omega-3s. In fact, it's probably higher.
If they eat a lot of grass and grain, your omega-3 can reach close to fish.
Yes, seafood. Probably higher than the farm fish. like tilapia farmed.
Soy corn raised fish actually have very low omega-3. They're not very useful health-wise, and I don't think they're greatly flavored. So they do fill a gap where we don't have enough wild fish, but because of their raising, there are tilapia and there are farm-raised fish that are on a better feed regime that are going to have a better health benefit. But we've found out that pork and beef raised on a really good quality and somewhat controlled diet of items will give you excellent quality fat, and we're like, oh, that stuff's going to kill you. Maybe not.
Green Raven, corn finishing of beef and things, it's primarily to get the marbling that people are now used to in the red meat.
Buttery, tender, mild flavor, and lots of marbling.
Because otherwise, pasture-raised beef does tend to be leaner and
mineral.
Yeah. So that's more
and they take almost twice as long to get up. So the last 6 weeks or so, we're not farmers, but being a chef and learning a lot, we have fairly good handle, I think, on it, but farmers can jump in there. Corn finish is usually about the last 6 weeks. The problem being if you do it constantly, ruminant animals are designed to eat mostly grasses and modest amounts of grain. That would naturally be occurred within those grasses.
Yeah, the grass seeds.
If they eat high amounts of corn and soy product, it will unbalance their stomachs and acid levels, causing a variety of depleting health issues. So they become sick and susceptible to stomach issues that ultimately are dangerous to deadly. And so you take that and push it the last 6 weeks. You get them really fattened up. It bulks them up, makes them bigger, fattier, more mild. You get a better buy price for it, and you can debate flavor but I will tell you that corn finished beef has a preference across the country in flavor. People, if you just do a blind taste test, that's because they're used to it. Yeah. Although people that get used to a more combination or a full pastured and grass, I find it beefy, and I do like it, and I think a lot of other people do. So it's very expensive. That is much more so than having a more controlled environment and diet for hogs, due to the amount of feed and time to grow cattle versus that 6 month plus for a hog, full size hog.
So, yeah.
They'll transplant probably live tilapia in Texas. Yeah, the warm areas, because it's a warm fish. Definitely, probably barracuda, tilapia, and a variety of things there. There are certain states. There's tilapia when done right can be okay, but most of the common tilapia that's out there tastes a little murky and funky, and it's not my preferred. Yeah, I won't touch tilapia. Yeah, there's worse things than tilapia, though. I will tell you that. What gets me is when people are doing, oh, I had the tilapia sushi, and this, and I'm like, ugh. Or the ceviche with tilapia is pretty common, but that's kind of where I'm not really excited about it.
Yeah, no. Okay. Just
less uric acid in humans when you exercise. Yeah, I get gout, so that's a buildup of uric acid, and some people are just susceptible to that.
But it's also not enough liquid.
Not enough. Well, you can flush it. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Too much exercise and you dehydrate, and you can get a buildup of uric acid, but you can flush it out. So yeah.
Neighbors on their own beef, and that's really tasty.
Yeah, if you got neighbors that do really tasty pasture raised beef, then make a deal with them, swap them something. See if you've got land, and see if they can pasture some of it on your land for a beef share, and fill a portion, or a whole beef ends up in your freezer.
Well, Terry, what's the best way to get rid of an edible invasive species? Probably to encourage people to eat it, or at least that way you control the numbers a little bit. So tilapia is invasive in our area.
Warm areas, yep. Yeah. So most of it, of course, is farmed. There is wild tilapia, but almost all of it is farmed. Wild tilapia tastes totally different, by the way. It's hard to get, but it's totally different, like all the other farmed fish. Farmed bass and wild bass, trout taste totally different.
So, yeah, I mean, also another view on invasive species is that nothing, if you go back a certain amount of time, everything's invasive at some point. So I just don't believe the environment is stagnant in general.
Pigs and horses are invasive. Pigs are invasive.
Pigs are invasive to the U.S. There's wild pigs. They weren't natural here. They got free. Chickens to places like Hawaii that have taken over some of the islands.
I thought there not sure there were not.
There were no chickens here either.
Yeah, just wild turkeys.
But there aren't many wild chickens running around.
No, but
except in
major
Hawaii.
Consumption of chicken would not, just like tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers and such, corn.
Most of our food that we regularly
squashes were brought over to Europe and Italy. And we were like, how do you make Italian food without tomato, without some of these? Yeah. Maybe some hot peppers. They didn't have those items. So
New World foods.
Yeah, there's always a blending and mixing of new.
And we're not the only ones who bring it back and forth for a lot of them. Sometimes.
Yeah. But it is good to think about how it affects everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But,
wild hogs are a major problem in a lot of areas. Yeah, especially through the south. And of course, there's a big, getting boar hunts and. A good boar meat can be very good. Some of it, depending on what they eat.
I've heard that they started using Great Danes to hunt the wild boar in some areas again, putting like flat brackets on them to try to help protect them. But that's what they are. Great Danes in England are called boar hounds. That's what they were bred for, was hunting bear and boar. So
I don't think our boarhound would do that well with wild pigs.
No, she'd probably run. Well, I don't know. She likes to run after deer, so she does like to run after big things.
Engage them.
Probably not. She wouldn't know what to do.
Wild chickens in Texas.
Yeah, I can see that. In the warm areas, yeah.
The hyenas. I think that's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, unless there's other questions here, it's approaching 10 o'clock.
What else is going on? We're going to cut things off fairly short.
Because we have to leave
We've been working very long days, and we do have a very long trek back. I understand most of the crazy weather on the coast has passed through here and not left too much. We are getting modest amounts of snow at home, so we're trying to make sure that we.
For those in Ohio and Michigan, I think the snow is already passed. Yeah. So hopefully we get in before the next system hits us, but because we have a bit of traveling to do tomorrow.
So keep posted for some. We'll have some videos coming out. Not generating really fast, but there'll be a bunch of pictures. Make sure you check out the Rhodes at Abundant Permaculture. Rebecca Rhodes might have a little something on her stuff.
Yeah.
The Hollers, Holler Homestead, and Art and Bree.
And all the Instagrams that go with it.
All those, check all your sources, your favorite sources for this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be some Instagram from our 12 participants that have their own channels and definitely done some photo shoots. Everybody walked away with it being well worth it and really enjoying it. So I'm sure they're going to be talking about whether their friends want to talk about it or not.
Yep. Green Gables, we will be seeing Puddin' tomorrow morning.
She's been with my sister for the last few days.
So she'll get a good play.
Black cherry juice, good for gout, yes. I think that's what I was probably referring to.
Yes.
It's tasty too.
Puddin' will get a chance to play with Laurel in the morning before we go and head out, I think, as long as we can find a pasture where they won't get in anyone's way or try to go places they're not supposed to. But Laurel's getting better at coming when called.
Laurel's, she's
Puddin', we're not quite to that point yet, although most of the time she'll come when called. She doesn't like being away from her people, but she can
We didn't bring her coat because we said, it's going to be warm.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be cool enough tomorrow, but she's all right. So
it's not -15.
We're meeting up with my parents. Then we're
headed out.
We're pretty quickly getting on the road. We brought a pretty big trailer, a U-Haul trailer, with us, full of lots of gear. So a little slower drive, trying to make it back, and we should be in tomorrow night.
Yeah, and then through the week I'll try to work on video. There is a video that we'll do from here, but I might wait for Justin to get some stuff up because I think he's going to make some announcements this week about other things. So I might do one more of our old hog butchery videos from this last fall for this week and get that out. And I also have the All-Star Chef video to get out. So we have a lot to work on.
We gotta get that All-Star Chef. People are waiting on that.
Yeah, I probably need to do that one first.
That's, I think, priority.
Yeah. So we will definitely be back next week we are at our regular time, but from our regular location, we'll be back home. And I think we're going to have to say good night to everybody. It's been fun chatting with you. We had a number of people in the room, new people and old people. So thanks for joining us. And thank you to our moderators for helping out. So have a good night, you guys. We'll see you next week, same time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Good night. Night.